Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the applause, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary, but I'm highly appreciative. Allow me to welcome you here this evening to our Transform Fresno first quarterly joint meeting of the Transform Fresno Outreach and Oversight Committee and Community Engagement Collaborative. Again, welcome to this house, and we're glad that you're here again. We feel very honored and humbled that you choose to come to our little house here. And again, we're so very appreciative that you do so. I don't see a number of our Oversight and Outreach Committee roster members. Should I introduce them just by name? All right. Allow me to introduce to you the TCC Outreach and Oversight Committee roster. First of all, our Councilman Oliver Baines, District 3, City of Fresno, myself, Paul Binion, Mother Mary Curry, Ms. Monica Diaz, Ms. Morgan Dorizaki, Ms. Sandra Flores, Pastor Jim Franklin, Pastor B.T. Lewis, Mr. Sal Lucatero, Pastor Willie Moore, Mr. Arthur Moy, Mr. Artie Padilla, Ms. Margarita Rocha, and Mr. Craig Sharton. Will all of the committee members who are present please stand so our audience can see you. Thank you so very much. These are your TCC Outreach and Oversight Committee roster. I'm going to tonight as been said, the refreshments are there in the back of the table. One of the things that happened in my house all of the time in growing up, and I grew up in a very marvelous Christian home, and we prayed over all of our food. We ate out about once a year. There in Los Angeles, Clifton's Cafeteria. And Mother would always pray, Lord, thank you for the food that we're about to receive. For nourishing our bodies, for Christ's sake, amen. And we never got sick, never had any stomach flu, never had any food poisoning. For that blessing over our food. Our mayor's not yet arrived tonight. I want to, in a moment, officially ask for Congressman Baines. Congressman, am I speaking prophetically here? Councilman Baines to come and to address us. But allow me to say, I want to take a moment. One of our Southwest Fresno icons passed away here a couple of weeks ago in the person of Pastor Marion Sanders. 85 years old. 85 years young. He and his wife Mary were married for 63 years. Did I say 63? They were married for 63 years. He was a part of many of our committees and ad hoc efforts that took place. But I remember years ago, we were in a meeting and it became a little contentious. And he said this phrase, first time I ever heard it, I don't think he was the originator of it. But Pastor Sanders would say, and he said it often, when the meetings oftentimes would turn where it didn't seem like we were being very productive or there was not a spirit of unity in the room, he would stand up and say, it takes teamwork to make the dream work. He would sit down. And in so many gatherings, again, with ministerial and even, I remember one time at Edison High School having a community meeting, and things weren't going too well. He stood up. It takes teamwork to make the dream work, and he would sit down. You know. I began to think about that, and over these years, those of us who have worked in our community know that things get done when we have teams and we collaborate. But I'm glad to be in a room. I think I'm in a room full of dreamers. Are there any dreamers in the room here besides me? Dreamers? My definition is just simply that we're not concerned about a present reality. We're focused on a future situation that we're believing will take place. With hard work and effort and our working together, that things may not be the way we want them to be, but we're not concerned because we're going to work together to bring about a future reality that'll be, in my terminology, a blessing, but also that will help to serve our constituency. So I'm glad we're a team. I'm glad we're working together. And I'm glad that we are here as dreamers, not burdened by what we see in our present situation, but focused on a future reality that we believe in working together we can all see come to pass. I want to introduce you this time, a young man needs an introduction, our councilman for District 3, Mr. Oliver Baines.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Pastor, and good evening to everyone. Oh, wait. We are in church, so y'all know it's call and response. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right, and I promise not to be up here too long. First of all, I want to just thank you all for making time to come and be with us this evening. I am confident that you all will get a lot of information and also have the opportunity to provide some insights and input, hopefully, to this process. So just a quick recap on where we are. TCC, we made it through the steering committee process for the community to select a plan, and I see many of our plan proposers are in the room tonight. I'm happy to see you all. Glad that you guys are here, and I know that you all are going to want to give us some updates and maybe receive some input from the community. But listen, folks, we did an unprecedented community outreach process. Like really nothing that's ever happened in Fresno and dare I argue the state of California, where we had a complete participatory process all the way from project to budget. So we are still in that process. It's not over. So some of you may be asking why we're here tonight. Well, we're here to continue this process, making sure that the community along each and every way is involved. Now, we did do a couple of things in the interim. Since we took our vote, 66 projects came in. The community, with as close to unanimously as possible, voted for 25 of them. And we submitted those. So we want to come and make some reports on those tonight. All the projects that you all asked us to submit, I'm pretty sure that each one of them got submitted. There have been some tweaks along the way, and we will give you that information. We did form an outreach and oversight committee made up of multiple residents and stakeholders, made up of all three of our interest groups. And listen, Pastor introduced them a moment ago. Many of them are here tonight, and they stood up. But let me tell you the importance of that group, because we did ask them to serve for the next 3 years. And so you all may understand that it was great that we had a lot of people submit projects. We're excited about the fact to put these projects through to the state and receive the funding. But the reality of everything is we have to now implement the plans of the community. And that has to happen. And we've got to continue to do that with the integrity that the community expects. So in order to do that, we felt, and the guidelines call for us to make sure that we have an outreach and oversight committee. We wanted to make that community made up of community residents and stakeholders that were involved, steering committee members that were involved in the process all along the way. We feel like these are some folks that represent the best interests of the community and stakeholders and have no problem ensuring that the city, as the lead applicant, keeps its word to the community about keeping the integrity of the projects that the community voted for. So that committee does that week in and week out with city staff and even myself. So I applaud the committee members that are part of this because it's hard work. We asked them to give a 3-year commitment to implement something that's never been done before, to ensure that we never left being responsive and being out of touch with the community. And on top of that, we're going to make sure that we're meeting with you all quarterly, which again is important to sustain our commitment. From the very first meeting all the way up until now, you all have received the promises that we were going to stay involved with the community. We're going to allow the community to be engaged, and we are not going to waver from that. So this is yet us again making sure that we're on task. So every quarter, we're going to come here and we're going to give you a report. And there may be times where we do some in the interim, but we know for sure that we're going to have a quarterly meeting. And our committee is going to be meeting at least monthly, sometimes more, right? And our staff meets on this every day. So anyhow, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background about why we're here, what we're doing, where we're going. I can't tell you how ecstatic I am to see a room full of folks yet again. It speaks to what this community is and who we are. You all are staying engaged, and you all are in this for the long haul. And so long as you're in it for the long haul, we're in it for the long haul with you. So with that, it is my great honor and pleasure to turn it over to the great pastor. The great pastor. See, he's not looking at me. See, he pulling one of my moves. The great pastor, B.T. Lewis. Come on up here, Pastor.
Good evening to everyone. How's everybody doing? Good. We got a lot of work to get done in just a few minutes here, all right? And so what I'm going to do is introduce to you the process of how the projects are going to be reviewed tonight. So we'll be calling up these list of presenters on tonight. Some of the projects, the list has been reduced because there's been some merging of projects. And so we'll bring Laura up in a few minutes to kind of talk to you about how that happened. But so this is the list that we have to work through. We have 17 presenters on tonight. Each presenter will have 3 minutes to present their project. If you don't need to take the 3 minutes, please share that time with somebody else. Somebody say amen. 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 So, I mean, some projects just haven't changed a lot. And so, or at all. So you may not need the whole 3 minutes. And so after that 3-minute time period, Rodney's our timekeeper. And so after the 3 minutes, then we'll have 2 minutes for questions for that particular project. And so you're going to have to help me by standing. If you have a question after the 3 minutes, if you have a question for the project, help me by standing so that I can come to you with the mic. We have to use the mic because the CMAC team needs us to use the mic. You can't just talk arbitrarily without the mic. Everybody tonight needs the mic. Amen. So I am a preacher. I say amen. All right. So Laura is going to come now and she's going to give us some information. If you have questions, please note those. But any comments or questions that we don't make it to, you can fill out the comment card, write down your question, and the city staff has committed, and if they have me up here lying, y'all better tell me, but they have committed to getting back to you through email, on the website, or indicated on, I think there was room to indicate it when you signed in, how you wanted to be communicated with. I know there are still a few people that don't have email and that don't visit websites. And so make sure you let us know how the city should get in touch with you with the answer. We want to make sure that we do our best as a community and as a city to address all of the concerns that the people in our community have. I can't think of another word other than amen. Amen. All right. So Laura's going to come and she's going to share with us some of the process that's going on in the last few weeks.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So as mentioned, we're going to be hearing from each of the project proposers tonight in the order above. 2 have switched, so if you see my little cartoon arrow, that's why. Those have just switched times, but they're still presenting today. You do, as you came in, there was also a big spreadsheet. If you look at it, there are several different columns which compare concept submissions, so what we submitted on October 18th and what we submitted a couple days ago, and the changes, if any. Those changes will also be spoken to as each project comes up, so each project presenter will tell you if they've merged with someone, if they've changed their budget, if they've changed their scope, but that's sort of a at a glance document. And as mentioned, if you have any additional questions, there'll be time after each project to ask those questions. And if we don't get to them, please put them on your comment cards and we'll get back to you as soon as possible on those as well. So that's about it. I'll hand it back.
All right. Thank you very much, Laura. We have a change already in the program. Our esteemed mayor has arrived. And so we're going to ask him to come and to have his part on the program now. Mayor Lee Brand.
Good evening. First of all, this is probably the most unique experiences of democracy, transparency that I've ever seen in 9 years at City Hall. And this is, you know, a unique program that's the only kind I know in the world is cap and trade and trying to make a difference on communities like Fresno. It's like the old saying, the good news is we got awarded $70 million. The bad news is to get awarded $70 million, we had to have the highest rate of poverty and the highest, poorest air quality. So we have a lot to go forward, but I'm so honored to be here with all you that have put so much time in, and everybody in the steering committee made a difference. The final product was, when I saw this thing, I went to Sacramento, I think it was back in December, about a year ago. Didn't know that much about it, and my predecessor, Ashley Swearingen, did a tremendous job in getting it this far. So I'm appreciating where we're going with this, and and having $70 million, and we worried about getting the match of $35 million. What's the match at, Laura, right now? Like $100 million? So it's far exceeded my expectations, And what it's done, and I know initially there was talk about, is it only downtown? Is it Chinatown? Is it Southwest? I think the final product came out really good. It was a voice of the people speaking, and the centerpiece being the Southwest campus of State Center JC, which a lot of people put together to make it work. But now we're in the next phase, and now we have people who volunteered to come forward on this outreach and oversight committee, and Oliver Baines, who's agreed to chair that committee. We've got our application in, thanks to Laura and other people here. And so the real work's going to begin, the actual implementation. The Fresno is a lead agency. The money's going to come through us. So everybody here, the process is not started. It's not stopped. It's only continuing. So thank you again, and I'm 100% supportive of the efforts. And I hope is that 5 years from now, we look at West Fresno, Chinatown, downtown. That's been a transformation for the good, and it's long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brand. Okay, so our first project is the satellite campus for Fresno City College. Project number 35. I'm going to ask you to come around and speak from the stage. The next project up will be project number 13, low-income weatherization. I ask that you come and this table here is on deck table, and so I need you on deck table over here. Project number 13. We need project number 12 and project number 2 on deck as well. Come join us here at on deck table.
Okay, so tonight I'm here to represent Fresno City College. My name is Becky Barabee. I'm the Dean of Applied Technology, and very little has changed to our initial project concept. So I would think the only major adjustment has been in just what categories we ended up finally submitting. So all of our content is going into urban greening. However, we're still touching many of the project components. The size of the project and location is approximately 30 to 50 acres. Our ask is still 16.9, and matching funds that we're contributing is 40 million. The overall project will be a little over 90 million. So we'll continue to seek funding to work out the first couple of phases of the project. Overall, again, we did fall into many benefit areas, and so we'll be working on workforce development and training. We'll be working on community partnerships. Many of you in the room we're partnering with as we move forward in these projects. Transportation and mobility will be critical as we'll be located in West Fresno, being able to service the community in West Fresno. And urban greening and water efficiencies will be a large part of the acreage as we develop it. Ultimately, we're looking at reduced greenhouse gas emissions with the ability to have less commuters coming onto the college campus, having a satellite location, working with public health and environmental benefits, including the academic programming that we'll be doing at the facility, as well as just some of the walkability and infrastructure that we'll be putting into place at the site. And expanding our economic opportunities and prosperity. Ultimately, we know that training and education is a critical component to community and economic development, and we're excited to partner with the community in doing so. As many of you guys know, Measure C and Measure E bonds that the State Center Community College District was able to pass in partnership with the community is contributing, and that's what we're leveraging in this project in order to be able to build out some of our initial phases of the site. There's a little rendering that you can't see very well, but just really working on the, again, the green aspects and open spaces on the facility. So in closing, just we're looking forward to, as a motto at our school, transforming lives, and we're looking forward to doing that in West Fresno with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Are there any questions for Becky? Is anybody standing? All right, well, thank you very much, Becky. So that's good? All right, good. Then we'll move on to project number 13, low-income weatherization, grid alternative solar.
How's this thing work here?
Just talking to it.
Oh, here we go. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jesse Adegain, and I'm the Development Officer for Grid Alternatives, and we'd like to thank you all for being here this evening. I just wanted to give a quick recap on the current project. The project as it is a collaborative project that seeks to install solar on a minimum of 60 homes in Southwest Fresno and the TCC identified area, as well as up to 6 multifamily projects in partnership with the Fresno Housing Authority. We also have some additional partners, which are Stone Soup Fresno and the Fresno Center for New Americans. And so, as previously stated, the project in and of itself will be a collaborative project, and what we're hoping to do is really help improve the air quality, bring some energy savings, some cost savings to families that are exclusively low income. And so we think that with the effort as we have designed it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach as deeply into the community as we can. And that way we can ensure that everybody that has the opportunity to get a solar system on their roof will be able to apply and also be eligible for the installation. As a solar installer, we've installed over 1,600 solar systems between Bakersfield and Stockton. And so we're very, very, I guess, comfortable dealing with the multitude of languages and cultures and folks that live in this valley. And so we're looking forward to implementing our project. I think that when you look at what it is that we're trying to achieve, it's really the direct energy savings for the families. We would like to improve the quality of the air that we breathe, and most of all, really help create some living wage jobs in our community. So we've currently been in discussions with our partners, and we're trying to figure out what is the best way to approach really our outreach efforts in the community, identifying folks that are community leaders, community-based organizations, and really organizations that serve this community. We also anticipate, and we're looking forward to trying to get as equitable a distribution of resources in the area. And so with a little bit of luck and all of your assistance, we're hoping to achieve those goals. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Are there any questions for Jesse? Anybody have any questions for him? Oh, here they are, right here. So what steps are you taking to prepare for implementation?
We are currently in discussion with our partners. We had some preliminary meetings with the Fresno Housing Authority on one multifamily site already. We're looking at doing some pre-wiring. And then we're also meeting with our partners, Stone Soup Fresno, which one of the representatives is here this evening. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with Fresno Center for New Americans.
Okay, and what challenges do you foresee along the way?
The biggest challenge, I think, is ensuring that we can reach as deeply into the communities and ensure a fair and equitable distribution of resources.
Okay. Where do you see the program going in the next 3 years?
In the next 3 years, we are hoping to do two things. One is completely fulfill the obligation that we have with regards to the solar, as we had promised. And the second, more important, I think, is to develop a program that would be replicable and really used as a model here in the city, the state, and the nation.
All right. Any other questions for Jesse? Am I still within the 2 minutes? Michael Lynn? Wait.
Thank you. How many post-construction jobs will you do? You'll install the solar panels, but will there be maintenance crews afterwards to maintain those panels?
Well, what we do is through the training that we're going to be offering in the community, we're hoping to be able to actually help folks get jobs in the community in solar and installing. But also as a nonprofit solar installer, we are a licensed C10 and C46 solar and electrical contractor. So yes, we will be doing all the maintenance and all the warranty work and really continuing to work with the community after these installations are done.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jesse.
Thank you.
Our next project, project number 12, Low-Income Weatherization Program, Fresno EOC. Paul's at the mic.
All right, good evening. Paul McLean, one of the officers at Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission. Ours is a low-income weatherization project as well. And while we're the applicant, we spent some time and negotiated a merger agreement with Govan Construction. And Marshawn, why don't you stand up so everybody can see you? So this really made a lot of sense for us, and you know, we're pleased to work with Marshawn for over the next 3 years, and I think he's going to add a lot of value and bring on a lot of people that can be trained in the industry. The area of focus is going to be the West Fresno, Southwest Fresno Pacific Plan area. Here are some changes. We started out with 100 units that we were going to weatherize. That went up to 200. This is all a function of now adding Marshawn to our team. And 135 homes will be solarized. That's up from 100. This last item here did not change. 50 residents will acquire electric vehicles. So the ask is $3.2 million, and we have $530,000 in matching funds, and bringing a total budget of $3.8 million. I would summarize the benefits of our project as being two. Reduce greenhouse gases, which is really what TCC is all about. And the second is to put money into people's pockets again. And how we do that? Well, they're pretty obvious. The first, reducing the greenhouse gases with weatherization and solar, and putting money in people's pockets, again, through their energy bills. They'll be reduced because of the weatherization and solar, and as well as being able to acquire an electric vehicle. Let me say a few things about the on-the-job training here. We deliberately went into this not wanting to do a workforce development program, because at the time, those were not allowed under TCC. So we're doing something that we've done very effectively over 20 years, more of an applied program. So we're going to bring people in that may not have ever done any weatherization or solar. And as a function of being on a crew, they're going to learn how solar and weatherization works. They will be trained by industry reps, for the required training that they need. And we're hopeful that they're going to have skills that they can use for many years beyond. Some of them even opening up their own solar or weatherization business. That's the focus of our project as well. TCC goals and criteria. I guess you can see it there pretty clearly. Readiness, we are ready. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go, thanks H. And you can see the partners that we have there, their logos are available. And closing again, the same things that I've talked about a number of times. Reverend, do you want to ask me the questions, or do you want me to just answer? All right, I got the answers there with the questions. So, first question is, what steps are you taking to prepare for implementation? We're currently operating at full capacity. I don't mean that we can't do any more. We're fully operational at this point in time, prepared to continue and expand the program with this new funding. The second is, what challenges do you foresee along the way? And this is one we struggled with the Strategic Growth Council. Structural issues on homes and electric panels that may prevent us from installing solar on homes. The third, where do you see the project and program in 3 years? We'll complete the project. Probably we're thinking about in the first 18 to 24 months, and create new energy businesses and prepare for new investments along the same line for future years. Any questions?
So what are you going to do to help build Marshawn's capacity so that he can do future projects on his own?
I think that's one of the very exciting components of our project. We didn't know Marshawn before this process started, but I struck up a conversation with him early on, and it seemed like he had some skill sets that we could really use. He's a young, energetic young man, and has all the certifications. He's a union shop, and so I think that he's going to be able to pull a number of young people into his crews and teach them the trades.
Do you have any other? Reverend Moore, hold on for the mic. Reverend, come meet me, Reverend. No, it's not all right. We need you to speak in the mic. That's a good church move, but it's not a move for tonight. We need you to stand, identify who you are, and speak in the mic, sir.
Willie Moore, pastor Greater Vision, also representative of West Fresno Ministerial Alliance. I'm looking at question number 2. What challenges do you foresee along the way and the structural issues on homes and the electrical panel problem that might prevent installation for solar panel? I don't understand how that would create a problem unless they still.
What I'm going to do, Reverend, is have you pass the mic to Matt, one of our guys leading the project. He'll answer that question.
10 seconds.
I'm Matt with Fresno EOC. There's a couple panels out there, Zinsco, and there's another panel that they're not really UL listed, and there's a hard time to find the breakers to add, and so that's what we just can't really tie into those. So, yeah, stuff like that. So that's what we see, and then just roofs being, at their max of. Yeah, I mean, in the areas, we like to hopefully have like 10 to 15 years left on the roofs to be able to put the solar panel, because the solar panels that we use are 25-year warranty, and so that's just, some of the roofs are kind of not up to standard.
All right. Well, we got to move on to the next project. Okay, I'm gonna give you real quick. You gotta stand though.
I don't mind standing, but if you run into structural problems, do you have a component within the program that will help and assist homeowners with that?
Well, clearly, we'd have to have other sources of funding, and that's something we will work on to apply different sources for that part of the project. Marshawn, did you have a comment on that too?
Just to recap on what Paul was saying, we did, like you said, wrestle with the Strategic Growth Council on this issue. Some of the homes, you know, there is other grants out there, but we do have a bank that would also help with some of those costs. But, you know, a bank is going to be dependent on the eligibility requirements, but, you know, depending on their income and what they can afford, we do want to give everybody the opportunity, but some things are unforeseeable and just won't meet the structural or the electrical requirements to, you know, put solar.
Okay, thank you very much. Project number 12. If you have any additional questions or comments, please make sure you write those down and submit those at the end. And the city is committed to getting those answered for you. Now up, project number 2, affordable housing and sustainable communities, the Chinatown project.
Good evening, Michael Duarte with the Fresno Housing Authority. Glad to see everybody out here today. Quick overview, not a whole lot has changed in regards to what we proposed and what was selected. There has been, is that better? Sorry about that. Thought it was close enough. So not a lot has changed in regards to the project, but there are a few updates. One of the biggest change in terms of not so much the project, but you know what the project application looks like. As you recall, one of the projects, I think it was Project 27, was some improvements for urban greening and active transportation in Chinatown. With working and consulting with the folks at SGC, some of that scope that was included in the active transportation and urban greening has been incorporated as part of the housing development project, so that you'll see some of the increase in TCC funding. It's not actually going towards the housing specifically, but is wrapped into the overall project application, and that is for the, again, for the active transportation and the urban greening. All right. A lot of this is still the same. To try to keep up with what you guys are looking at. A lot of this is still the same. Still looking to have the same design and benefits from the project. Just a quick overview that for those that may not recall, this property is located about a block from the planned high-speed rail station at G Street and Mariposa, so this is one block over, as you can see there. And again, we're incorporating some of the lighting and streets that were selected under the project number 27. Again, just some of the benefits. Again, this is pretty much the same information that we presented when it was selected. I want to get over to some of the readiness. We're still moving forward. We have our general site plans approved. We've submitted our application. Some of the things that we're working on to prepare for the project is to continue to seek the leveraging that we have planned. We're looking to apply in early January for a state grant program called Infill Infrastructure Grant. So that, again, is to satisfy some of the leveraging that we had committed to. Again, I want to leave more time for questions. I think that there might be many, and I don't want to, we can get right into some of the questions that folks may have.
You have questions here. Are there any questions from the floor for Mike? You can go ahead and answer those there until somebody.
So some of some of the steps we're doing, we're continuing to work with our architect to refine some of the design work. We're working with the city and the fire department to, if you recall, adjacent to this site is the training facility for the fire department. So we're looking to work with them to possibly relocate those that program elsewhere. So that's one of the things we're working on. We're continuing to work with some of our potential investors for the low-income housing tax credits to get them prepared and interested into the project. So that is underway. I'll go ahead and move over to some of the challenges that we foresee. We still have to secure some of the funding, so that's a risk, but we think that we have good relationships with investors and are successful with attracting low-income housing tax credits. That's a big component of it. So that those are challenges. One of the biggest challenges is through the current tax reform. One of the, depending on which budget we're looking at, this I believe it is in the Senate bill, that it would eliminate private activity bonds, which is a key recipe to bring in the 4% tax credits, which is a big component of the financing. So if that program is eliminated, it puts at risk this project, but really a majority of the affordable housing in the country. So that is a huge risk, and we should learn more on that this month. So that is one of the big things. Sure.
Yeah, but my question is there's a pretty substantial investment from the community, towards your project. Have you decided, or have you had any conversation with the workforce development side that's also going to be funded for this TCC? And how do you intend to implement that workforce development out of this program, specifically the Voice Gladiator program, into your project?
We'd be happy to continue to talk about that. We are talking with local union representative to work to develop a project labor agreement and really try to focus on targeting local, not only local hires, but an apprenticeship program.
All right, are there any other questions for Mike? Thank you very much. Okay, project number 31, Urban and Community Forestry, Yosemite Village, Permaculture, and Tree Fresno is moving to my right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Matot with Fresno Metro Ministry. Can you hear me all right? Is that good? Okay. So really not much has changed in our project other than we went from urban greening to community and urban forestry in our category. It seemed like a much better fit. And then our match changed, which then changed our overall budget. But we're still coming in above our ask for the match. We are still a resident-led, community-based urban food production project. Incorporating some entrepreneurial activity around food, community gardening, permaculture-based small farmer incubator, doing some cooking nutrition classes, things like that. It's all about the food on this. I guess I should move this along. Because it's permaculture, it's non-mechanical, no-till, there's no pavement, everything's permeable. So we're really focused on increasing biodiversity at the site to get some of the positive benefits of that. Community partnerships are going to be really crucial. So if anybody wants to talk to me tonight about how you too can engage this project, that's really important to us. Our readiness, we're ready to go. We're going to be breaking ground in January. We already have enough funds to get everything started. So you guys will start seeing some stuff at our site. It's behind Yosemite Village apartment complex over there off California between Fruit and West. I've got some other materials if anybody wants to connect with me tonight on that. So some of our overall goals are still increasing healthy food access. We want it to be a leveraged community space. So whether you're into the gardening or not, we want you to be able to come and engage that site for multitudes of reasons. Let's see, it's all pretty much right up there. Some of the questions, when we were trying to answer some of these things, we're ready to implement. So we'll be submitting our finalized site plans to the City of Fresno Planning Department at the end of this month, hopefully for approval in January, and then we're going to break ground on that. Some of the challenges that we see, it's not going to be a fenced-in site, right? This is not an exclusive thing for just a certain number of people to use. So because it's not fenced in, we're having some concerns about how we're going to minimize vandalism and theft. So that's one of our concerns. And then sustaining long-term engagement with the community. So that's why we really want to go broad with lots of different ways that people can be using the site. And in 3 years, we see it as just growing a ton of food in the community as a real strong functioning urban food project. So.
15 seconds on questions or 15 seconds on presentation, so we still got some question time. Any questions from the floor for Tom? Right now, he represents all of Fresno Metro Ministry.
Oh, jeez. You're really putting me in the
thank
spot
you
there. Thank you very much,
Tom.
everybody.
All right, our next project number 30, Urban and Community Forestry, Changing Lives with Trees, Tree Fresno, Lee Ayers.
In my earlier life, I played the trumpet and helped conduct an orchestra. So, okay. We're missing a slide. Well, just missing. The best thing about this presentation are the pictures. The overarching goal is to create the best tree canopy in Fresno. That Southwest Fresno would have the best tree canopy. In many neighborhoods you have a good start, but there's great potential to go big. On the slide that's missing, it shows the map of the project area as well as a community development block grant. Whoop, sorry. There it is. The map, thank you. It's there. Boy. And we show that because there is a companion grant that we identified as matching funds that will allow us to study the whole Southwest area and identify neighborhoods and corridors where we could develop a palette and a collection of trees for each section of the community, and then help implement that with the TCC program. The scope has changed. I see that we need to reconcile a bit with the spreadsheet that was laid out, but I can give you the basics. We started with about 3,000 new trees funded by TCC. We ended up with 1,500. And most of that in street trees, and then part of it in front yards. Along with that, we have a grant with CAL FIRE and the Community Development Block Grant that will give us trees to plant in schools and parks, as well as places like St. Rest, where they have a neighborhood park project. The benefits and impacts, you read for yourself, typical for trees, whether it be shade or improving the air quality. We fulfill the goals by reducing greenhouse gases, and of course the project is submitted called for significant development of arboriculture career opportunities and engaging students in nature. Readiness, we've planted over 43,000 trees so far. We have grants that will fund an additional 5,000 in addition to TCC. And so with that, we've developed the network and competency to undertake a project like this. And close, that lower left picture is the one I like the most. We look forward to improving the tree canopy, reducing energy, the use of energy, adding shade, and adding to the beauty of the community. On questions, we've identified partners, contractors, and tree planting opportunities, and we've developed a green team model that would take more time to explain than what we have here, but envision 15 people working part-time, supported by 3 people working nearly full-time to execute this project. Challenges along the way, this is an important thing to note. We have identified 4 major issues that need to be resolved with the Strategic Growth Council in order for us to proceed with this project. One is cash flow, the other is indirect costs, another is provision for planting of the trees within the grant, and also the discovery that the West Fresno schools are outside of the map for the project and would not allow us, therefore, to do our Living in Nature project. And so it may be, in consultation with the mayor's office, we're estimating it might take 6 to 12 months to resolve these. And last, once we are underway and achieve the aims and objectives, we'll see 2,600 new healthy trees in Southwest Fresno.
All right. Are there any additional questions that you have for Lee tonight? I think that's Lisa. Lisa, hold on.
No, because I have bad knees. My question is, does your plan include any sort of biodiversity or drought resistance plans?
Yes, yes.
And such?
All of the trees submitted are what we call water-wise, demonstrated performers through the drought, but also requiring a low water use. And within that list is a diversity that which would give us ability to withstand the loss of a certain species.
What about canopy growth? That's my last question.
All of these are large trees. That's dictated by the Strategic Growth Council program for greenhouse gas reduction. So you're going to see large tree crowns.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ayers. Project number 36 is up, Workforce, West Fresno Advanced Transportation. And then we're looking for project number 15 and 37 on deck, and number 19 on deck. Gwen Morris will be our presenter.
And as you, as you guys know, I was talking at the time he was doing that. So for those of you who know, I was running my mouth, and I said, who, me? All right, thanks, folks. I'm OLR Wizards. OLR Wizards is an organization that started in 2012. The purpose of our organization is really to help build infrastructures of not-for-profits. So when you get to the technical part of this in terms of admissions and all of that, my technician is not here tonight, but I will answer all infrastructure questions. The basic changes to our project were actually the original project was to deal with trucks, but as it progressed, we included airplanes and other modes of transportation. Because of cost, we have eliminated the airplanes, and therefore our site, which was Chandler Airfields, has changed, and we're now going to be located in one of our local churches for the class instruction to take place. It went from a 1.6 to a 1.2. You guys, this is a basic on-the-job training, moving from Class A licensing for truck drivers to natural gas emissions that our folks are currently not trained on. There are two phases, and I'm not following that, so you can answer me. You can ask the questions. But there are actually two ways of entry for this. One is we're partnering with Fresno City College, and Fresno City College has some classroom training. They do not do the mobile training. The second is we're partnering with United Trucking School, who is currently one of the schools that is accepted through the Workforce Investment Board, and we're combining with them to do the actual mobile training. The end result, you'll have 200 trained truck drivers. This is about employment. Simple as that.
Amen. Can you flip to your questions, Gwen? Go to the next slide. See.
Yeah, you can go, unless there's some questions, we can go ahead
Do you have any questions from the floor? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good because it's a simple train on the job.
Yeah. Any questions from the floor?
So the questions that, what steps for the implementation? We're actually making sure that our partners are aligned and ready to go so that when we get the word, our contracts will be signed. 2, what challenges do you foresee? Timing. This is like baking a cake. You get all the components together at one time and you make sure you compile it and it goes into the oven at the same time. So timing is an important part of this. And so we also don't want to get the community so excited and then we push back 3 months, or we push back 2 months, or we push back 5 months. So we're making sure that when the timing is there, all of our components are in place. Where do we see ourselves in 3 years? 200 trained truck drivers, natural gas. At that point, we're also looking at going to drones, and we'll be moving forward with our buses. But we're taking the low-hanging fruit right now. The trucking company that the trucking school that we're currently working with is already training about 84 a year, and that's without recruitment.
Okay, we have a question from the floor.
Hi, my name is Grecia Lenes. I'm with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. And employment is a large component that we keep hearing from residents. So I know you said there's going to be 200 individuals that will be trained. What insurance will there be that those residents will be from this area?
This is about 93706, and those that fit within the zone, they will be receiving first opportunity. The trucking school that we're working with actually does not, their motto is we don't leave one behind. Anyone that fits the age criteria that's ready to go through the training, and it's first 93706 and within your geography, guaranteed.
And one of the reasons for the oversight committee is that you'll help us keep them to that word.
Please do. And also you can help recruit. Yes, ma'am.
15 seconds. I just wanted to know what was the age criteria.
See, you did that. I believe it's 21 for that licensing. But remember this, that you can start City College at 19 and 20 and go through those necessary classes, and by the time you meet the age requirement, you're ready for the Class A. So remember that there are two ways. One, you're going through your city college. Those that are already have a trucking certification, all they will need is another 120 hours on those particular vehicles. Questions?
Well, I think we ran out of time. We may have some time at the end for more questions. Okay. Anybody with a pressing question for this project in particular? Thank you very much,
Merry
Gwen.
Christmas and peace and blessing.
All right, projects 15 and 37, Workforce, Southwest Fresno Green Trails, and Psychopaths Initiative, and the Gladiator Program.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Randos. I'm the director of the West Fresno Family Resource Center, and also trustee of the Voice Initiative, which is the voice of including community equitably. Our Voice Gladiator program goal is to train 100 plus gladiators, and we have like 5 elements. So introduction to construction, green space job training, mentorship, case management, union trades, and climate appropriate landscaping. So we actually just went right into the questions, right? So what are our steps for implementation? So currently we are working with the TCC developers. We have outreach to them, and so we would like to actually establish a MOU or a contract with them. So the goal would be those individuals that are trained in our program would have a direct pathway into those particular jobs. We also have working also in place letter of intent from the cement finishers and also the carpenters union. Again, the goal would be train, go into the union, and then go directly into a job that's under the TCC development. We are currently also outreaching to other community-based organizations for recruitments for participants. So organizations like the Center for New Americans, Centro La Familia, Firm, those organizations that are working with individuals in our community. We're also securing training sites and also trainers for our program. Okay, challenges, and I'm going to let Leroy talk about challenges.
Mainly we have just one really seriously big challenge that I would see, and that is the larger projects has a non-apprenticeable status, which will not allow us as the only pre-apprenticeship program in this program to prepare people for these jobs. So we need to discuss and figure out how we're going to address that, because the larger projects, that are bigger projects, don't have a position with the project labor agreement that currently is in existence with the city of Fresno that would allow people to have jobs that if they don't have, for us to get into the apprenticeship program, because they can do non-union work that we prepare our people for the jobs, we got to have a pathway for them to get into the job. So without having these bigger projects that has been exempt from this, it's a problem for us.
And I would say one of the other challenges that we have is also timing. Oh my goodness, also timing. So we want to make sure that once these individuals get trained through our program, and there's a direct pathway to the union trades and to the developers. So we want to make sure that it's, after they're trained, that they're not waiting around for a job. We want to make sure. So just timing all of that, and I think that's something that Gwen had mentioned earlier.
A total 5? Yeah. Okay. First set. Okay, so any questions from the floor for project number 37? I made a mistake. It was just project number 37. Anybody?
So my question is, good labor jobs brings the community up and brings labor standards up and brings workers' pay up. I like your proposal, but I'm wondering how come the city of Fresno hasn't changed their labor agreement so people from this proposal feed into the bigger construction, and why isn't the city changing the labor agreement?
That's a question for the city. I can't answer that one, Lisa.
Are they here?
So the project labor agreement is an item that went to, the project labor agreement is something that the city council in its entirety has to approve. It was approved back in about a year ago, I believe. So we're happy to open those discussions and take comments and questions, but just keep in mind, again, it's not just a, District 3 or whatnot decision. It is a citywide decision. But again, either way, happy to have those conversations, happy to hear more comments. If you want to submit some suggestions through your comment cards, please do.
Let's open it up.
It's like running a football. You got to find the hole.
Thank you. Mr. Candler and Ms. Randall, if you will, you referenced that the city of Fresno's current labor workforce agreement, if you will, for lack of a better definition, does not allow you to form an agreement with some of the larger projects that are being developed. Am I correct in that?
Well, I can't say that that's for sure it won't allow us to do, but it's unlikely that we will be able to form an agreement with them because we are union-based and our pathway is through the union trades. And because of this agreement that we have, this allows the non-union contractors with the other companies not to give our people that live in this community an opportunity to come out of poverty. We need union jobs for our people to come out of poverty and union wages. If they're going to pay prevailing wages, then that's another story. They don't have to be unions. But if they pay prevailing wages, that would lift our people out of poverty.
When you reference large projects, are you referencing large projects that are in the TCC process, or just large projects in the city generally speaking?
Both.
Okay.
So that's a discussion that really needs some follow-up outside this room. So y'all need to make sure you have that conversation with Oliver and the city, and make sure you don't, that you get the answers that you need. But we can't solve it here. But that's a critical question that needs to be answered.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for finishing off my question.
Okay, now we are looking for project number 15, Community Engagement and Education, Southwest Fresno Green.
Hi, everyone. We're here to present a portion. Can you guys hear me? No? Yeah. I need to introduce myself. My name is Sheila Hakimipour. Brad Greenberry. We're both with USGBC Central California. and we're here to present project number 15. Project number 15 has been, modified, changed, scaled down significantly. It's now sort of three separate projects. Voice Project 37 actually included the workforce training portion of our project. We're here to talk about the community outreach and bicycle education portion, and then it's all about the trail project that the city of Fresno will later talk about. That one down the list, you can see it, it's the last slide. So the project we're here to present is about the community outreach and bicycle education around the Southwest Fresno Green Trail Initiative, which would be a Class 1 trail bike path on Fanning Ditch in Southwest Fresno. And complementary projects that will follow, that would be connected to our project, are the Fanning Ditch Planning and Engineering and Infrastructure Project, and the Workforce Development, which Voice will do. So, so just to give you an overall description, the Southwest Fresno Green Trail Project will propose, design and propose a Class 1 bike trail in the area known as Fanning Ditch. This bicycle network will provide an alternative transportation mode for pedestrian and bikers, and will reduce greenhouse gas emission. And then USGBC and partners will do a community outreach to make sure that community's voice is heard on this project, and also on projects that will hopefully follow the Fanning Ditch and provides that connectivity that TCC is actually, the goal of TCC is, and connect to downtown and high-speed train. And also bicycle education, which is will be an essential part to engage the community and teach the community what is a safe way to bike. And in addition, the U.S. Green Building Council will work and collaborate with Voice on workforce development. So going very quick on the community outreach, we'll have the stakeholder outreach, we will have a tactical urbanism, and we'll have a community meeting, which will be part of the programming for that. And Brad will talk about the bicycle education.
Bicycle education will focus on maintenance. A well-maintained bike is a safe bike. Unfortunately, if a bike breaks down and you don't know how to fix it, that's even sad, because now it doesn't get used, and the whole reason for having a bike and freeing yourself up from cars kind of goes away. One of the things that we'll be looking at doing is having a program, a Bike to School Day. We'll have a poster contest to go along with that. We'll coordinate a day, and we'll coordinate meeting places for people to do group rides to school. So that's pretty much a rundown of our bicycle education.
Okay, so are there any questions from the floor? Alex.
Thank you. Just a question regarding the way this project has been split up, and maybe this is a question that is more for the city. Will that be reflected on this sheet? Because I've been looking at it, I'm feeling a little confused. It only shows project number 15 seems in one place. Oh, I see.
So project 15 actually shows up in 3 places. It is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th line down. It says 15, 16, 17, and 27. So that is the city implemented portion, which I will present later. And then it also goes down to at the bottom, number 37 at the right. It says combined with workforce development component of number 15. So that is the previous presentation. They originally submitted a workforce component budget, and then a piece in this project that now has been combined. And actually 15 itself, the 16 million includes this project as well in it. So it's those two right there.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Okay, did you want to briefly address some of those questions there?
As far as what steps are we taking at this particular time, with respect to the bicycle education, I've already identified 2 cities that have education programs, the city of Davis and the city of Sacramento. I've looked through their programs online and they look pretty decent, so I'll be meeting with them in the next few months or so and getting more in-depth information with them as far as how their programs were developed and what key components they have that they're getting out to the community.
Challenges?
As far as the education program, I think it's just coordinating with the key officials.
Okay.
And on the outreach program, is really the importance of coordinating with other members that are involved with the project, especially with the consultants and the cities that are going to be working on the actual trade.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Project number 19, Low Carbon Transportation, Clean Shared Mobility Network.
Good afternoon. My name is Troy Hightower, and I'm here for project number 19. That's the Clean Share Mobility Network. And just an overview, I think the title of our project says a lot about what we plan to do. Mobility and clean shared mobility, that's something that you may hear a lot about, these terms. It mainly refers to the use of newer technologies, electric vehicles, bikes, vans. And so the network part involves a network of our partners as well as a network of these systems. So we're not really going to be located in just one location. We will have nodes throughout the city. So that's why we have both a network of people and operator and partnerships as well as vehicles. There hasn't been many changes in our project. The most significant change is what was project number 21, the Early Riders Preschool. They're now part of our collaborative. It did have a change to our overall budget, an increase. It was not an increase in our budget. They had an existing budget of $400,000, and so their budget was added to ours. So our budget did not really increase, but when we incorporated them, we incorporated their budget as well. Another change is we plan to have the Transportation Innovation Center, which is a center that's designed to further technologies that would assist transportation and access to transportation and a lot of the applications that are being developed to help people travel on different modes. This photo is an example of what the new partner will provide, which is solar-powered charging stations. The network is still the same. This map was developed in our workshops that we had with our partners when we were developing where we were going to have these nodes and charging stations. Our goals, of course, TCC would like for us to reduce GHG, and since all of our vehicles are electric powered or bikes, so we will reduce GHG. That's one of our goals, and that will also promote public health. But in addition, when it comes to economic opportunities, not only will we create jobs by providing transportation options and shared transportation options that will allow more options for people to get to jobs, as well as we will plan to work with employers and how they can use these systems to help people get to these jobs that may not have transportation available. And with that, on our questions for implementation, our next steps are to firm up some of these locations where we plan to have the stations and the nodes. We firm up our location for the Transportation Innovation Center and the Information Center that we plan. that will also provide not only information on how to use our system, but as well as how to connect to other transit and other operators in the city and the region. The challenges we have, they're minimal. The challenges are normally associated with installing charger stations, and a challenge is educating people on how to use these systems, but that's part of what our information system plans to do. That's part of our program. We do have a positive challenge, which is the demand. We're already experiencing requests for more information, and so I think meeting the demand will be a challenge. Our next steps is that we plan to meet with employers, agencies, on how they can start incorporating the use of these technologies and or partnering with us to help provide these services to build up our network, so that we'll have a network of vehicles and nodes throughout the city.
Thank you, Troy. Any questions from the floor? You're closer.
Hello, my name is Matthew Gillian. I'm with Inspiration Transportation, and I happen to be actually a part of this project. So my first question is, and please forgive the sunglasses, I broke my regular glasses. So the project that was added, I've been told a couple of times that their initial budget was $400,000. On this sheet here, it says $467,000. On the Transform Fresno website, it says that their initial ask was for $267,000. So where did that $200,000 come from, since there are actually two projects in our group that some of the money was decreased? And I asked this question because I've been hearing that money has been kind of moving around in different projects, and I'm just trying to gain some clarity as to who to ask and where to find out where this money is going, because I want to be accountable to the Southwest community. I want to be able to answer those questions when people ask me, so I'm just trying to figure out where money's going and how it's moving.
I'll try and answer your question briefly. The process that we've gone through and the process that was established to get to where we are now involved reviewing budgets, making changes to budgets. We had to meet a lot of the qualifications and restrictions of SGC, and so that required us, all of us in the room, to really adjust the budgets to make sure that we met all the goals and the funding requirements of SGC, and that's how we got to where we are today. As far as more details, we're happy to meet with you later to go over more details. But that's my understanding, the way it's been with all projects. All the budgets have changed. That's my understanding. And in my experience, that's been normal in development of projects. There are no firm budgets yet, that my understanding, until the city approves these applications. That's my understanding.
We have another question
here. Robert Andrade, community member. Will there be an app developed where members of the community will be able to know what resources are available to check out a bike, the vehicle, and time length of how long you could be using that resource?
I think you could have been up here and helped with the presentation. The Information Center will provide that. There are existing apps that will do that, but the Innovation Center wants to make available the facility similar to what Bitwise does, so that companies can come in and develop these technologies that we can use here locally, whether it's with fax or the railroad or any of the others. And so we plan to work with not only the existing apps, but also people that like to develop apps. And we're working with Fresno's new Transportation Institute on that.
Rodney, we out of time on this one? Okay, so if you have any more comments or questions, please address Troy and his team directly. Project number 22 is up now. Active Transportation Annandale Mode Shift Project.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Francisco Nunez. I am a project manager with Self-Help Enterprises. And our project is, just a quick overview, is the Annandale Mode Shift. What we're proposing is to install sidewalks and bike lanes that are missing on Annandale Avenue between Martin Luther King and Elm. one change that's happened on the project as we went through the application process is that we did not fit the requirements to have a transit program. So that has been removed from the proposal. The budget hasn't changed. The budget remains the same. The ask is $350,000, and we, Self-Help Enterprises, is putting up the match of $150,000 to complete the improvements, sidewalks. There would be some curb and gutter, and like I said, bike lanes. Part of the project is also to engage the community, and we do have a couple neighbors there, important neighbors. Clinica Sierra Vista on one end. We have the community center to the south and also the schools. So we're proposing to have outreach and education program to be able to have people not only, even though we're not having the transit program, motivate people to use less their vehicles and move forward with walking, biking, and also using existing transit programs. As far as the questions are concerned, the three questions, what are we doing to implement the program now is we're having in conjunction with this program, we have a housing development on Annandale Avenue, right adjacent to the Clinica Sierra Vista. So we're already in pre-development on that aspect, and once the first of the year comes around, we will be entering into an agreement with our engineer to move forward with preliminary plans as far as the sidewalks and physical infrastructure is concerned. We'll also be meeting with the community members to have them engage. Some of the issues that we may run into with any construction project is implementation and installing those infrastructure and make sure the community knows what's going on, and so we can work around and make sure we have the less amount of impact on our neighbors. Where we see this project going is in 2 to 3 years is for all the improvements to be completed and installed. So there is sidewalks for pedestrians to use, bike lanes for bicyclists to use, and hopefully encourage more people to use the transit system.
Any questions from the floor? Go ahead. I got to get this back and get to you. I'm so used to pointing.
Good evening. As you're aware, I've spoken with the applicant on a number of occasions, and I've also presented at the City Council hearing in relation to this item, and been present at one of your neighborhood meetings. But my question is in relation to some of the amendments that have taken place with your application. So for clarity, can you offer that with the intent of your original proposal that's now been changed, you are not providing with these TCC dollars, sidewalks, or any of the other, for the other intent and purposes of the project? Your agency will personally be covering that cost and reallocating the funds for community outreach, as I understand it?
No, so the project is, there's a detailed budget. I didn't bring it with me at this time, but the TCC ask is to implement sidewalks, curb and gutter, bike lanes, and also some portion going to outreach and engagement with the community.
Okay, all right, and I look forward to speaking more with you about your application. Thank you.
Definitely, thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Payne, any other questions for this project? All right, thank you very much. We're moving now to project number 33. Project number 33, Urban and Community Forestry, another level training.
Good evening. I'm Nia Hodge-Greer, and I'm with Another Level Training Academy. My project has been updated, and I am partnered with the Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission as myself, Another Level Training Academy. I'll be implementing a community garden located in Southwest Fresno at Panda Environmental Daycare Center, promoting healthy lifestyles and high-need communities. It's a quarter-of-an-acre space located at the Environmental Center, $100,000 over the 3-year term, and the targeted population is 93706. Okay. Updated benefits and impacts are the healthy food, education, hands-on learning experiences, positive alternatives, deterring crime and reducing pollution. Potentially, I'm wanting to see this grow into a farmer's market. I want to unite the community and unite the cultural diverse community. Updated TCC goals and criteria are bringing healthy produce to a high-risk and a needy community. Vegetables and trees planted aligned with water-wise criteria, and bringing a once thriving community back together. My readiness is together with Fresno EOC and myself. I have the experience and the passion to implement this project. I have access to non-GMO seeds, the garden site, and the equipment and storage. My readiness, I'm willing to partner with CalFresh, local and private schools and church organizations to promote the health of the community. And I have written a healthy recipe book, which will include things that are grown in the garden. In closing, I would like to see a community food project with this is a community food project with multiple benefits, including the reduction of the greenhouse gases, promoting healthy food and alternatives, and fostering and enriching activities for all ages, encouraging hard work, beautifying the neighborhoods, and help diffuse social tension. Encouraging hard work is by implementing, again, I would like to see this grow into farmers markets and provide sustainable food in a food desert, because there are no Whole Foods, Sprouts, or any of those things in our community. The questions, what steps am I taking to implement? As I've previously stated, I've partnered with EOC, and I have a garden specialist, Jensen. EOC will build my garden boxes. My project is very minimally evasive, so I'm ready to start. All I need is the boxes, soil, I have the seeds. The challenges I foresee along the way are not many, because the project was voted for by the community for the community, and I believe it's a huge need in the community. And where do I see this project in 3 years? I see the project completed and expanding to other foundations such as WIC, other schools, other preschools, being implemented into other schools, and teaching the importance of growing and eating your own food, as well as generating income from the foods that you grow with your own hands. Also, by them being in the in schools and in the daycare centers, I see them helping to prevent gestational diabetes, birth defects. I just recently buried my daughter who suffered from asthma, who was born in this community last Thursday, and I see it being an educational tool. I'm very passionate about it. So thank you for your time.
Are there any questions from the floor for Nia? Any questions? All right, thank you very much, Nia. All right, we are at project number 34, water, energy, urban greening, urban and community forestry, food waste prevention. Looks like Kyle is coming to the mic.
All right, good evening, everybody. Excited to be part of this. We've done a lot of development on our project, kind of accelerated certain parts of it to be ready for the TCC funding opportunity. What we're planning on building is kind of a multifunctional community food hub in Southwest Fresno. This is going to incorporate the distribution of our existing businesses, UBI and wholesale, local organic produce. Currently operating downtown, this would be relocated and expanded here, have a front-end grocery store, as well as a kitchen producing value-added goods within the facility, and a community orchard on site that would be part of a community program to maintain the orchard trees that will include fruit and nuts for community benefit. The kind of impacts and benefits of this program is that we're providing fresh grocery option within Southwest Fresno. This has been a big ask throughout the Southwest specific plan process, as well as long-time community ask for having fresh grocery options. It'll be focused heavily on local produce, have a lot of grab-and-go foods, and hopefully become a community center as well. Kind of modern grocery concept is people spending a lot of time in the store, eating in the store, being a kind of community center. Our employee base is very diverse. We currently have, I just did payroll today, so we have 36 employees on our team. Some of those are in our farm in Madera, some are in downtown. Those jobs would be relocated to Southwest, as well as an additional 40 permanent jobs that would be part of the grocery store and distribution center operation. And the construction of the building as well, which we intend to be LEED certified, which is a measure of energy efficiency and kind of ecological friendliness of buildings. Where am I at? So TCC goals, reducing greenhouse gases through reduced energy usage of this facility, using a lot of high-end refrigeration equipment as part of the distribution center and the kitchen, reducing greenhouse gas through having a healthy community orchard on site, shaded parking lot, a very green site as part of the overall development, and increasing the access of healthy, affordable food. On readiness, we did win site control. We got a option to purchase from the Fresno Housing Authority of a property at Fruit in California. So we're planning on that as our location just down the street. So that's that. Breeze past this because that stuff didn't change from the last presentation. Major challenges in front of us are raising the rest of the funds. We're opening a direct public offering campaign to raise community investment in this project. So if anybody in the room or any organizations are interested in being a part owner of Food Commons Fresno, we're able to offer that opportunity now, and your investment gets coupled with the state investment and becomes part of growing food access within Southwest and the entire region, as well as part of our organic farm in Madera. So I can accept any questions beyond that.
All right, any questions for Kyle? Sister Curry, please stand.
Thank you. My question has to do with the 40 jobs that you mentioned in Southwest Fresno.
Yes.
Are those local hire jobs specific to 93706? Are those people just going to be coming to work in 93706?
Good question. So we've always had a kind of local hiring procedures that all of our locations have been within food desert neighborhoods. We've been operating in South Tower and downtown. All of our jobs get posted on a window and kind of outreach through the neighborhood. We have connections within Fresno Adult School for hiring through their food handling program, and often a lot of those people that go through that program are located within food desert neighborhoods in Southwest Fresno. We do want to hire completely from the neighborhood as much as possible, so that would be our first priority. Obviously, with filling jobs, you gotta have to whoever's available, but also doing major outreach within Southwest. Those are going to be a diversity of jobs from cashiers, warehouse jobs, marketing jobs, management. All of those would be a priority toward hiring locally.
Any other questions for Kyle on project number 34? All right, well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Project number 29. Project number 29, urban greening, clean energy park and play, urban greening and playground. Excuse me.
So our project is with Early Readers Preschool. It is our playground and park that we'll have right at the southwest corner of Kern and C Street. Our TCC ask, if it's in here, yes, it's $60,000. We're really excited about this project. It's a park and playground that's targeted towards toddlers between the ages of 2 to 5. We're utilizing local contractors in Southwest Fresno Hills Construction, Garcia Paving, and our hope and endeavor is to create some temporary jobs through the construction, but also through the project in the preschool that would be permanent jobs. Just to give a kind of scale, so this room is maybe about 2,500 square feet. And so the playground will be about 1.5 times the size of this room. And again, remember 2, 3, and 4. So you have a 2-year running from here all the way to the bathroom on the other side, and adults trying to keep up with them. So plenty of space for children that size. Some of our elements, of course, is a part of the SGC requirements is urban greening and also providing shaded areas. One of the things that we heard from the residents that was really important also was to make sure that the facility was safe and secure, especially for children that size. And so some of the elements we incorporate into the playground and the park is making sure that it's fenced in, that there's security cameras that also incorporate the area, that it's gated, and that parents would have someone that's actually monitoring the park and the park location for the benefit of the children. The park would also be utilized for the preschool during their preschool hours and also available then to the public. The greenhouse gas reduction components also include the planting of the trees and vegetation. We've been in communication with the city on the variety and so forth, and taking a recommendation on the types of trees that need to be utilized in the vegetation for the urban greening. It would also include green grass space there for the children. Okay. And
so yeah, regarding readiness, we own the property. We have done initial submissions regarding grading and this floor plan here. So we're ready.
Are there any questions from the floor? Okay, you guys want to address those really quick? Oh, I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Where was the hand?
Thank you. I just wanted to know how close is this park to the freeway, and what's the plan to mitigate how close you are?
yes, we know that was a question asked before, and kind of looking at some of the examples that we have in West Fresno of parks and schools located to the freeways. We've been in contact with Caltrans Environmental Justice Unit with in looking at ways that we can work with Caltrans to provide vegetation, to create a green barrier between the state freeway fencing and the playground and park. And so that's one of the ways that we've been looking at it. Of course, as a school, we would be monitoring also for the children's sake, we would be monitoring air quality days. And so just like traditional schools, when there are high or poor air quality days, those children would be staying in as much as possible.
All right. And then did you guys want to run through that list really quick?
Regarding the implementation, again, we've already submitted primarily the initial plans to the city. The property's already owned. Challenges, one of the challenges is balancing public access and safety. We want the public to have access to the park, we want to make sure the kids are safe. So we're trying to get a good balance of the two. We can't just have it completely open where there's homeless people playing with our toddlers. So there has to be a balance, and that's been part of the challenge. And where we see it in 3 years completed and kids enjoying themselves.
All right, thank you very much. Our next project, project number 28, Urban Greening, Mariposa Plaza.
Good evening. This is Sophia Pagalatis with the City of Fresno, and I'm really happy to be here tonight and just really excited to hear about all of your projects coming together. It's amazing. Tonight I'm here presenting the Mariposa Plaza project for the City of Fresno, and this project has not changed, so I'm just going to run through the high points quickly so that we can all remember what this project is about. It is a project on the corner of Fulton and Mariposa Street, just a block away from the high-speed rail station. It's a quarter of an acre, and the ask of $3.8 million has not changed. The benefits and impacts are, of course, to create a living room for the city of Fresno, a really important gathering place at the crossroads of various modes of transportation, to enhance downtown in general, to strengthen community identity, and to provide an amenity for residents and workers. The TCC goals and criteria, it fulfills those goals. It's an urban greening project, by the way, by increasing tree canopy, stimulating local economic development, and reducing vehicle miles traveled. People that live and work in downtown won't need to drive to find a park to recreate, and it will also just incentivize more. It'll be an amenity for the residential neighborhoods there. It fulfills the criteria by improving intermodal connectivity between Chinatown, high-speed rail, and BRT. It is in the Fulton Corridor specific plan, specifically called out there, and it's been vetted by community partners through various planning processes. So the readiness, this has been, fairly straightforward. The city owns the property. The artwork and installation is funded and in progress. The CEQA, or the environmental clearance, is complete. And so you see a little change there. That's an update for you. And the environmental site assessment to look at contamination, for example, it was determined that that is not going to be required. So that's another check the box on our to-do list. So just to close, the Mariposa Plaza is anticipated to bring people together to celebrate and feel inspired, be happy about downtown and all the surrounding neighborhoods in Fresno. It'll improve the overall public health and quality of life, and of course it'll just create a green amenity in a really key location. So, was that my timer? I thought so. Boy, right on time. So, what steps are we taking to prepare for implementation? We've done our environmental clearance, and we're in the process of design. What challenges do we foresee? Right now, we don't see any big hurdles, so that's positive. And where we envision this in 3 years is constructed with a nice budding urban canopy, cleaner air, a great gathering space, public art, and lots of us out there celebrating. So, with that, questions?
All right, well, thank you, Sophia.
Sure thing.
All right, our last presenter this evening will be taking on the last two projects. Project number 32, and then she'll handle it looks like a combination of 15, 16, 17, and 27. Laura Gloria.
That's right. So instead of calling our entire Public Works team to be here, I said I could do it. All right, let's start over. So the first one is the MLK Activity Center Park. There's been no change in budget, no change in scope. It's 9.63 acres. We do now have site control. That was the only change, but a plus as far as getting ahead of building the park. So it supports complementary uses. It's bounded by MLK, Walnut, Church, and Jensen, and it's the proposed, or near the proposed area of the future Fresno City College, as well as it's near some areas that are zoned for housing and commercial, and so hopefully in a couple of years there'll be a build out of the park, a new campus, housing, and commercial buildings as well. So the park in general reduces greenhouse gas emissions, as well as, you know, parks build healthy and stable communities and support increased exercise and healthier lifestyles. You know, we all know that Fresno would love to have some more green space, so this is a great addition, almost 10 acres. So again, we have site control. It aligns with the goals of the Southwest Specific Plan, and the City of Fresno has the capacity to implement. So we are ready to go on this as soon as we get some funding. And then, again, this is what I spoke to earlier. So you can see the map right there that aligns with the Southwest Specific Plan. And it's envisioned that that area in the future will have a lot of great activity, a lot of very complementary uses, including the park. So what steps are we taking to prepare for implementation? As I mentioned, we have site control, and our public works team has been working on some of the offsite improvements. So the city, as through the TCC application, is supplying $11.6 million in offsites, which will be the entire surrounding area. So that's one of the streets, and so that'll be part of the future park. So our public works team is hard at work scoping out all of those budget issues. What challenges do you foresee along the way? Really just construction timelines. You know, it's a short timeline. The grant term is 3 years, plus all of the administrative stuff as far as closeout on the front and the back end tends to shorten that time. So we just have a really tight timeline, and we want to make sure to get as much community input on the park design as possible. So that's the biggest challenge, is getting that all crunched. But we decided on the $70 million, so we should be able to hopefully figure this piece out as well. And where do you see this project in program in 3 years? As I mentioned earlier, just this fantastic build out of the southwest area with all of these complementary uses, and this fantastic park designed by the community. And I'll take questions on that one before we skip to the next one.
In the current draft or final of the Parks Master Plan, they talk about, great to build it, but we need to make sure that we have adequate maintenance and maintenance funding for long term for the parks they currently have and for future parks. What is the city's commitment to long-term funding of maintenance of this park?
Great question. So in the past, there was no planning at all. So I think that's the first step. You know, it's really easy, or I shouldn't say really easy. It's easier to get grants to build stuff. Most grants won't fund maintenance. So those are usually city funds later, which of course, you know, parks is greatly in lack of maintenance. And so that's a big piece of the Parks Master Plan, is that while we continue to push forward on building new, that we also make sure that we're incorporating costs into the budget for both maintenance, capital improvements, all of those things that you just mentioned, to make sure that they continue to stay well maintained. And so, because those costs, if you don't maintain them now, they become even higher later. So it's just building it into our budgets and being extremely aware of what's lacked in the past and how we can fix it.
So is this built into the current budget?
This is something, or maintenance in general for parks is something that we're building into the budgets, yes. All right. So the next project is 15, 16, 17, and 27. So we try to keep all the numbers so that you would have reference to what they looked like in the original concept application. This one, due to a change in program guidelines, SGC actually asked us to move it all over into the urban greening category versus active transportation. And then they asked us to meld this all together so that they could run their calculators for the greenhouse gas reductions. I know it's, you know, a lot of extra stuff, but That's why it ended up like this. But that being said, it is just the combination of those projects. The only difference is it was a little bit under what we originally submitted as far as price goes on the southwest portion for the trail. The trail in the additional, or in the initial budget was not identified. We've now identified a 1 mile segment of Class 1 priority trail in Southwest, which wasn't as high as anticipated, so the budget got scaled down a little bit according to that. Otherwise, the work is still in place for the rest of the items, and as I mentioned, it all just molded together. And you can kind of see the three pieces over there. Oh, sorry. So the total now is 16,158,029 versus the 19 before. So the benefits and impacts, basically what these projects all do is connect. We have the trail in Southwest, the high-speed rail grid. So there are some areas in downtown where the streets just stop. They don't punch through. So Broadway and Merced will be punched through now, and so there'll be more connectivity there around the high-speed rail station area. And then we also have the Chinatown active transportation. So Chat and Chug are still in here, and those will be a lot of new landscaping, new street curb and gutter, new trees, and a couple of other improvements. So all of those projects reduce greenhouse gas emission and again increase multimodal connectivity, both in high-speed rail area and the surrounding areas, as well as urban greening in general. I think we ended up counting over 350 trees total being planted for these projects, in addition to the stuff that's being planted from the project Tree Fresno proposal. So way more trees also in here. Readiness, a lot of this is owned by the city of Fresno, especially the Chinatown improvements. Some of it will require some right-of-way acquisitions, but that's stuff that our staff is easily versed in doing. I tried to stitch the little trail down there below if you can see it. So that's a 1 mile segment, and luckily there's not any direct displacement on any of these. The land is free and clear as far as anybody having to move or be relocated, so that'll help as far as construction. So we kind of already went that. Oops. Maybe I didn't add that last slide in there. So to answer the last three questions, what were we doing to implement? So as you can see, we have a lot of the preliminary drawings already drafted up. We have cost estimates for all of them. We have schematics for all of them, and we're moving forward on what we can do before the grant actually. The grant funds are actually awarded or given, and or before we can execute the contract. So as much as the city can do beforehand, we'll just count as in-kind services, which makes our application look even better. And what challenges do we foresee? Again, construction, especially with punching through the streets. There's some stuff, it's just sidewalks in a parking lot that'll be punched through, one of which we own, so it's not too bad, but it's still, sometimes there's basements underneath or whatnot, so just construction issues that we might find along the way. And in 3 years, we just hope to have, again, more connected streets, a new class of trail, which will actually connect to Tulare and some other really high priority areas. And that should be it, unless you guys have any other questions.
Thank you. Could you specify where the trail is in Southwest?
Sure. I'll just try to go back to my little picture here, if you can see it. And I believe it is Thorn on the west side and West on the east side. And so it goes through the aligns with the Fanning Ditch alignment through it's near the Yosemite Village Permaculture Garden as well, so that'll be one of the pieces that are near there. But overall, it goes through some just non-developed areas right now.
Okay. Does it travel anywhere close to the Darling rendering plant? Would it potentially take people anywhere where we've already designated that it is not a healthy place? And then my second question is, this is the only trail that Southwest is getting?
So if, to answer your first question, the trail will, I believe the Darling plant is near it, but it will be relocated, as we know, through the Darling relocation agreement. The second question is about the Southwest Trail, and there are lots of other trails anticipated in the ATP. This is the one that was ready as far as scoping and time considerations. As I mentioned, the grant term is very short. It's 3 years, 2.5 years, really, if you're looking at how long it takes to do all the administration and whatnot. And so we wanted to make sure that there was a trail that was deliverable, and it is in our active transportation. It is a priority network, and so it'll loop into Tulare, which is already sort of built out, as well as some other priority trails that it'll connect to.
Okay, based on what the community had really requested and prioritized, it was really connecting the schools, the existing schools, and the community college center, and avoiding areas like Darling where there basically are public health issues. So I'm just curious as to how that still rises to the top and becomes a priority for the city.
Again, it was identified in the active transportation program. It was also identified in the Southwest Pacific program, both of which went through an extensive community process. We understand the concerns, but those were vetted through the community through that process, and that's why those were identified, and again, in addition to the scoping issues of making sure that they were ready and buildable in time for the process.
Yeah, hi. My question goes along with the issue regarding Darling. You're going to have some environmental justice issues upon review of your proposal with the state because it's going by Darling, and there's been such an outreach from the community regarding Darling, just to let you know. So what is your response to what I would anticipate the city saying, not the city, excuse me, the state saying, you have some environmental justice issues there. Also, too, the second question is, how are you going to do your public outreach to encourage people to do trails and to use all these items that you're implementing?
Okay, so as far as the Darling issue, again, we have a relocation agreement in place that got approved by council. The Darling location will move out to the wastewater treatment plant, which is far, far removed. And we will absolutely go through all of the proper necessary environmental clearances for the trail, as we do for all of our other projects. And so we will deal with those on a case-by-case basis. As far as the outreach goes, there's actually two components already. The U.S. Green Building Council, who's here presenting earlier, they're doing bicycle education and outreach, and they'll be very well aligned with the building of this trail, as well as Fresno Metro Ministries has already reached out and wants to reach out to everyone to help maybe co-design, since their location is in proximity to the trail, to be able to either work off the trail, and Tom is available if you want to, ask any additional questions on what they might do. But again, there's two pieces already there, and then just our overall engagement plan will include some pieces as well.
Yeah, Gloria, can you characterize Class 1 trail and what that looks like, what that's going to involve and so forth, just so that we're clear as Class 1 versus Class 4?
Mm-hmm. So Class 1 trail is completely removed from the street, so it's its own trail. It's a paved pedestrian path, and it's shared for bicycles, pedestrians, and whatnot. And so I would say it's one of the better trails. It's not just the striped bike lane. It is right along the Fanning ditched alignment, which means that you'll also have access to the water that's right there. It's really gorgeous. And then again, as it being a separated trail, it's not on the street. It has its own pathway, and so pedestrians and bicyclists will not be in the street itself. They'll actually have their own dedicated path.
Any other questions? Before I turn this over to the Executive Director of Every Neighborhood Partnership, Artie Padilla.
I think they're clapping for Gloria, not me. So, okay, look, we are way late, so, okay, thank you, perfect slide. I'm gonna go over three things really quick. Community outreach, displacement, and local hire. But I wanted to show you this first. These are 4 buckets, 4 groups. Technical committee, That's basically the state and the city working together to make sure the projects are going well. We've got the implementation committee. That is the city and the project leads, making sure the projects are moving forward the way they need to. We've got our oversight and outreach, or outreach and oversight, which we were introduced earlier. We are going to help try to keep the city and the projects accountable for moving along and making sure things go well. And then we have the Community Engagement Collaborative. That is the group that were voters that are not part of the Outreach and Oversight Committee. We want to keep, that's basically this group and others with our quarterly meetings, but we're also going to have more, I want to explain in a little bit more about the community outreach. Let's go, where's the clicker? Sorry, go ahead, thank you. Displacement, okay. Displacement, we, with the, and H shared about this at City Hall last week or 2 weeks ago. When we submitted the plan, it was just a bare bones fundamental displacement that we just had to put in. What we want to do with both the displacement and the workforce is to have a task force, and the city said that they would get this implemented in the first quarter of 2018. For displacement, a task force that would really take a deep dive in what is Fresno's displacement avoidance plan going to be citywide, because that will actually have teeth to something, because whatever we submitted with this project plan really didn't have any teeth. So we wanted to put a focus on creating this task force, and that would be outside of just the TCC. So we're going to ask folks from organizations that are in the know of this to be on that task force. It's not just the TCC folks. So we want to make sure we have folks that really know about displacement to be part of that task force. And there are some folks in this room that I personally want to recommend to be on that committee. And the same thing for the workforce. You know, one of the challenges that we see in Southwest Fresno is we've got a lot of folks that are underemployed, underskilled, needs not only some job training, but just some social skills, some development in those areas. So we are also wanting to look at a holistic workforce plan that addresses all of those things, not just the training, but really how do we really make a dent in the unemployment rate in our residents here in Southwest Fresno. So that's again another task force that we would launch the first quarter of 2018. And once again, it's those specialty folks from those areas that really can put some brain power into that. So we have a citywide workforce development plan, okay? So let's go to community engagement. So besides the quarterly meetings, there's gonna be a consultant that they'll end up hiring to help oversee the outreach. But what I want to do with the quarterly meetings, in between those, I really want to have some neighborhood meetings. And that's something that I was going to be working on anyway, so I really want to help out with that. I would love to see the 7 elementary school neighborhoods in Southwest Fresno have their own individual neighborhood meetings, because there's some things that might apply to this neighborhood that folks in the Lincoln neighborhood just may not care about. But there's things in the Lincoln neighborhood that folks in the Sunset neighborhood may not care about. So they can have their own conversations about what's going on with those projects, but also other things that are going on in their neighborhoods, not just TCC stuff. I see this way past TCC. This is a community development plan more than a TCC plan. Okay, so I would really love to have those 7 elementary school neighborhoods have their own group, but then we all come back together and have a Southwest Downtown Chinatown group. So downtown's got their downtown partnership. Chinatown's building a nice coalition of business owners. So that's what my vision is for Southwest Fresno, and I really want to work with that consultant to make that happen. So you'll see that. And that also addresses, you heard tonight a lot about outreach, from the transportation program to the grid alternatives. Everyone wants to reach out to the community. So if we can create a plan to network within these neighborhoods, we can provide that informational outreach to all the neighborhoods. So that's a really quick overview. So do we want to do questions for this section too? Lisa? Well, and I'm probably going to need city folks up here too. I had a feeling, Lisa. You probably want the microphone.
have several questions, actually. How do we put our names into, basically, how do I basically volunteer to do or to participate in the workforce development plan or to be considered to be put on something like that? Well, I'm going to need another card because I already filled up one on both sides.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to submit their name or organization to be on either one, fill out another card specifically with that, and we'll collect them. And I will make sure that our steering committee sees all the names, as well as the city and Oliver as well.
Also, too, will the consultant that will be hired to do the outreach, will they be competent? And will they be culturally competent? Because that's something that's been really missed. Also, too, I like your idea of having it at local, based on local schools. However, I also see the flip side of it as very divide and conquer and possibly putting one community against another. And I really actually like seeing everybody together because it's a better sense of fellowship and a better sense of what the community really wants. Also, too, why wasn't the community review panel that was suggested by the community actually implemented? Because it would be really nice if we had people that actually showed up, got voted upon, got organized from this community to actually be part of the review panel.
So the review panel, which is that the oversight?
It's not the 13 apostles, it's the community review panel, based on the original community engagement plan that was submitted by the CBO.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Just wondering. I know it's a review of the city, but if the city is so transparent and the city really wants to do what the community wants, this is something that the community has been asking for months. So why was that not taken into consideration?
Okay. I'll let the city answer that, but you asked several questions. So going back to the neighborhood group, going back to a small neighborhood, there are specific things in certain neighborhoods that I've learned, because I do this all over town, that they want to talk about, that really they want to take a deeper dive. You can't have that in a big community meeting like this sometimes. You really have to spend some time on some of those specific things. Now, we still are going to have our big Southwest community meetings, so that's the time when we would all regather.
But you can also divide, but you can also have additional meetings that take a deeper dive into those issues, correct?
If they're facilitated well.
Well, that's where, that's where you have a competent consultant.
Yes, and going back to that question, our steering committee did ask that that would be a local person that knows Southwest, downtown, and Chinatown as well. Not someone from out of town, out of state. Yeah, agreed. Well. What? Are we done?
Yeah, I think you handed off to, I don't have it in front of me.
Pastor Binion, to close up, but we do have another meeting, March 14th, Wednesday, March 14th, here at Westside Church of God. Same time, 5 o'clock, 5:30, the meeting starts. Pastor, close us out.
Why don't everybody rest on your feet? Why don't everybody stand up, all right? You've been sitting for a long, long time. Thank you so very much for participating in our very first quarterly joint meeting of the Transform Fresno Outreach and Oversight Committee and Community Engagement Collaborative. Thank you. God bless you. We will see you on March the 14th. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.